Thank you. Well, so on behalf of the George Alexander Foundation, it is my absolute pleasure to extend a warm welcome to everyone. Welcome to the George Alexander Foundation Scholarship Commencement event. I'll start by acknowledging the traditional custodians of the lands on which we are situated today, and I pay my respects to elders past, present, and emerging. I also pay my respects to any Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people who are with us this afternoon. My name is Brad Shrimpton, manager of the George Alexander Foundation, and I'll be guiding us through this event. And my important and very enjoyable task this afternoon is to say, on behalf of the George Alexander Foundation, a big congratulations to all of you. Each of you thoroughly deserves your GAF scholarship. You are an amazing group of young people, and it is an honour to support you on your university journey. This event celebrates your success. I'll quickly tell you a little bit about the George Alexander Foundation. Summed up, the foundation provides education opportunities for promising young people from across Australia to fulfil George's legacy, as George put it, of planting seeds and hoping they grow into pretty big trees. George was an amazing man who came from a very humble background. He was raised by his grandparents in the UK in the 1910s and 1920s and left school to begin work at the age of 13. He migrated to Australia when he was just 15 years old and worked on farms as a labourer in the Victorian Mallee and Wimmera regions. But through being incredibly driven and utterly committed to his own education, George went on to become a mechanic, a TAFE teacher, a university lecturer at RMIT, a remarkable inventor, a successful businessman and manufacturer, and a very successful property developer. George was also an absolute character and was not at all ostentatious with his significant wealth. He was modest, pragmatic, down to earth, and viewed people and life optimistically. And he was a person who gave back. From his own experiences, he strongly believed in the transformative power of education, and he wanted to help talented young people, especially from regional, rural, and remote areas, to achieve their educational goals. So again, a big congratulations to you. You are the talented, promising young people George wanted to support. I was very fortunate to be involved in the selection of each of you this year, and I am completely in awe of you. Your achievements are genuinely phenomenal. You've excelled in your studies, you've won awards, and you've dedicated many hours to volunteering activities, and you've shown a commitment to personal growth and community contribution. These are the qualities that earned you your scholarship. Always remember that your scholarship represents our confidence in you. You have not received your scholarship by accident. We genuinely believe in you, and we're excited by the contributions you'll make to the fields you'll work in and to the community. In a nutshell, we recognise you're pretty incredible. Over the next 3 years, we'll be providing you with a number of opportunities to meet other GAF scholars and to hear from some unique people. Please make sure you come to these events. You are a very special group of young people, and these activities are a chance for you to get to know each other and to create friends and valuable networks. You should have received by now your welcome email, which has a link to your GAF guide. Please read it, as it provides lots of useful information and gives you a GAF scholarship roadmap. In 2027 and onwards, we'll be adding new initiatives and leadership opportunities to this roadmap. Please look out for them and get involved. If you do, they'll be part of your GAF reference letter that we'll give you at the end of your scholarship, which we hope helps with your job hunting. Okay, our first very special speaker today is Sasha Sri Deenathayalan, who received a GAF scholarship to study at Deakin University in 2021. Sasha is a final year law student whose journey is a powerful example of how determination and being open to possibilities can transform what you get out of university. Like many high-achieving students, which you all are, Sasha's first year of uni was marked by excitement, but also some uncertainty and at times imposter syndrome feelings. However, through being persistent and seizing opportunities, Sasha has completed a series of incredible internships. She became the Deakin Law Society president. She is currently studying law modules at the University of East Anglia, and she's also a court officer with the Federal Court of Australia. Sasha will be sharing how her GAF scholarship gave her the time and space to find her feet and to discover a future in human rights law. Thank you for talking with us, Sasha.
So my name is Sasha, and first of all, congratulations and welcome to the GAF Scholar community. Like Brad said, you all deserve to be here, and I really, I believe in all of you. So I'm really looking forward to hearing and hearing your thoughts in the breakout rooms and also seeing where the scholarship takes you. What I will start off with is sort of a bit about myself and what I have achieved, and then I'm going to work backwards from what I've achieved to where I started, and hopefully, what you will get out of this is an understanding that big things happen not because I jumped from point A to point Z, but rather the little steps in between that took me there. So I'm a final year law student. I'm actually in my final semester at the moment at Deakin University. I have been very lucky because of the scholarship to be able to do my final semester abroad. So that's been pretty exciting. I'll talk a little bit more about it later. I received the GAF scholarship because of all my community service and leadership that I did in high school. At the time, I was really, really passionate about volunteering and giving back to the community and really just being generous with my time. So I was really, really excited to apply for the scholarship and receive it. When I entered university, I really wanted to engage with the community as much as I could. And what happened was when I entered university, the pandemic was still very much alive and well. And I didn't get that opportunity. I really didn't. I wanted to get out there, join the clubs, be part of the student council, really get involved at Deakin, but it just didn't happen the way I wanted it to happen. But now, fast forward to about 5 years later, I have had my experiences as the Deakin Law Student Society Geelong president. I have been on student council. I have chaired multiple faculty communities. I have completed 3 distinct and separate internships, 2 exchange programs, and I've chaired my own humanitarian project in my local community. So all of that seems like really, really big, like massive goals that's happened. So what I'm going to do now is work backwards to show you how I achieved these goals. And I'll start off in 2021, in my first year, in the middle of the pandemic. And I applied to be a first-year representative on the Deakin Law Student Society Geelong and got rejected. I would blatantly just didn't get any position at all. And I think the worst part was that they were not they were hiring a lot of people. So I was just rejected because I just wasn't, I don't know, just wasn't part of that group of first year representatives that did end up getting selected. So I got quite a lot of imposter syndrome out of that. I was like, really, am I good enough to be at to be a part of this university club? Should I be studying law? Because also at the time, I just did not like studying law. I just didn't like it. There was so much that I didn't know, and I just didn't seem to be able to actually grasp the content of what I was learning. So I was sitting there having this sort of, I wouldn't say crisis, but I didn't know what I wanted to do. And I think I was a bit lost at the time. So yeah, I ended up hating it, like really, really, really hating it. But then what ended up happening is I went overseas to the Czech Republic in 2023. I did a short course. It was a month long, and I studied international human rights law while I was over there and loved it. I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed studying abroad, of course, but I also enjoyed the content. And it was the first time I realized that law doesn't have to be boring. And all these skills that I learned while I was so at this point, I was 2 years into my law degree. So all the skills that I learned up to that point, my legal research, how to analyze, how to critically think, all of those things started to come into play when I studied human rights law. And for the first time in my life, I was like, well, I can study something I really enjoyed. I don't have to sit there and read contracts if I don't want to. I don't have to sit there and talk about land and property. I can sit here and discuss civil rights violations, human rights law, what rights are, like balancing rights and all of these things. They're really, really fascinating things to me personally. And I started to enjoy it. I enjoyed law. When I came back from studying abroad, I started to apply these skills in a really practical way. And my motivation for studying law basically skyrocketed. And it reflected in my grades, and I did really, really well. What also happened in that year was that I became Law Society president. And the year before, I competed in a competition, which is another thing that allowed me to really love studying law, because I realized it's not just all academic work and reading books and writing essays. It's also being able to negotiate outcomes for your clients, being able to argue your points to a judge. So I started doing competitions. I started to be involved a lot more in law competitions. And that's how I ended up with, winning my way on the society. Even though I was rejected in my first year, I came back. I tried again. I got involved in a different way, and people liked that I had the skill to negotiate things like settlements. So they put me in positions of sponsorship and allowed me to sit there and talk to firms about what kind of sponsorship deals that the society wanted to be part of. And so I won my way up into president from there. So if you see sort of that growth, I got rejected in my first year, sure. I didn't let that set me back. I came back a second time. I kept getting involved. I showed that I had the skill and I had the talent, and I went all the way up to being president from there. And that also made me enjoy my time as a law student, because I like to think about law less as academic now and more about the community that I am a part of, and the fact that you can really lean on other lawyers, other law students to achieve your goals and your dreams. And I think there's something really, really beautiful about that. So those two things really, I guess, exemplified that passion that I had for law that I didn't know that I had. Both of these things were made possible by the George Alexander Foundation Scholarship, because had I not received it, I would not have been able to go overseas to study human rights law, because I would not have been able to afford it, quite frankly. And secondly, I wouldn't have been able to pour my heart and soul into being Deakin Law Student Society president, because I would not have had the time. I would have had to work, and yeah, essentially I wouldn't have had the capacity to really be the president that the society needed at the time. So I'm very, very thankful for those two experiences, but also for the scholarship, for actually bringing back the light of law into my life. What happened after that is I started to become quite passionate about the law. I started to research different opportunities, look at different ways I can interpret and analyze the law without having to default back to your standard corporate law pathway that a lot of students tend to pursue. They finish university and then they just go work for a big law firm somewhere. I didn't want to do that. That didn't appeal to me, and that's why I didn't like it. So I was looking at different avenues that I could enter. So I ended up doing 3 really, really, really cool internships. The first one was with a criminal law barrister in criminal defense, and this was actually in The Hague at the International Criminal Tribunal of the former Yugoslavia. It was a huge internship. I just wasn't expecting to do it. And it was unpaid, because that's what human rights law is, the whole area, because it's just so underfunded. A lot of these internships are unpaid. So again, because of the scholarship, I was able to say yes to this internship because I could actually afford to do it. And I had a really great time, because international criminal defense, so working in a team of people defending a war criminal, I think is a really, really interesting test of your morals, and an interesting test of the right to a fair trial, and the fact that everybody gets a right to a fair trial, and how that actually works in practice. So I thought that was really cool, very insightful internship. I managed to do another internship at a community legal center working in employment law and employment legal rights. That's another really, really big area that Australia is actually quite proud of. They have really great workplace protections. So I was able to work in a community legal center, which means that we had people who had their work rights violated calling us to ask us for legal advice. And I was able to sit there and actually give that information to them and help them understand their rights. So I thought that was really, really rewarding. That internship was more rewarding. And then I also did an internship at the Department of Families, Fairness and Housing. That was a bit of an interesting one, but it also let me once again be involved in wider community issues and all of these things I'm really passionate about. So that one was a little bit more of a, I don't know the right word to describe it. It was just that made me realize what I wanted to do was work in the community. So the two internships before that were wonderful, but I realized I wanted to really get in there and work in the community. So that all of these things, unpaid internships, but the scholarship let me do them. And I think it's been really great trying to find my footing in an industry that's constantly changing, in an industry that's really hard to navigate at times, but it's allowed me to do that. So needless to say, the imposter syndrome went away. I quite like law now. And I realized that I'm here in my final year of law school. I was there at Law Society president because I deserved to be there. It wasn't that I was an imposter trying to find my way around. It's that everybody feels like they're an imposter, and they're not. You're there because you deserve to be there. So I ran for Law Society elections. I stood in place for student union elections. I applied to chair committees. I put in the applications for those internships. I traveled overseas to go on exchange. That's why I'm here now in the United Kingdom at the University of East Anglia studying, surprise, surprise, human rights law. Again, another thing that the scholarship has allowed me to do. I did the thing because I had the confidence and the means to pursue them. So sometimes you just gotta do the thing. You just gotta put in the application. You gotta, in the wise words of my best friend, YOLO, like you just have to go ahead and do it. You never know. The worst they can really say is no. But the best they can say is yes. Yeah, no problem. I'm just gonna wind up with my 3 pieces of advice at university. The first is to say yes to every opportunity and try everything at least once, so you know for sure whether you like it. Secondly is to prioritize the things that make you happy and focus on your passions. And the third is that remember that you can do hard things. So please believe in yourself and really believe in your skills and your talent. And those are my 3 pieces of advice at university. And I'll wrap it up there.
So moving along, our second and very special speaker today is Sarah Daly, who received a GAF scholarship to support her studies at the University of South Australia in 2023. Sarah is now a 4th-year psychology, sport and exercise science student, and she moved from Mount Gambier to Adelaide to pursue track and road cycling. She has also been a rural youth ambassador for South Australia, an ambassador for the South Australian Premier's Be Active Challenge, a mental fitness program ambassador for the Australian Institute of Sport, and Sarah currently works with the Little Heroes Foundation, whose programs support children's physical and mental health. Sarah will share her experience and thoughts about transitioning to university and thriving at uni, and will give some advice and tips for you to take away. Thank you very much, Sarah.
Brad, for that lovely introduction. I just want to start by congratulating everyone for being here today and receiving your scholarship. You've already been so successful and you all deserve to be here. So I hope that you've taken a few moments to reflect on everything that you've achieved up until this point in your life, because it is pretty incredible. And oftentimes we do forget just how far we've come and what we have achieved. So you've already heard a little bit about me. I'm from Mount Gambier, which is located right at the bottom of South Australia, and I'm currently studying a double degree in psychology and sport and exercise science. As well as my university studies, I'm heavily involved in sport as an elite track and road cyclist. So I'm often travelling around Australia competing in road racing events and also on the velodrome. So I was recently up in Brisbane competing at track nationals, where I was fortunate to win a national title on the tandem individual pursuit, which is pretty cool. But today I just wanted to share a few things with you that I have learned during my time at university so far, and some things that I wish that I'd known when I was in your position a few years ago now. So the first thing is that you don't need to have everything figured out. One of the biggest things that I realised early on is that when you start university, it's pretty easy to assume that everyone has everything figured out. People seem confident and organised and like they know exactly what they want to do in the future. But the reality is that most people are just figuring things out as they go. You think you should know things, but really, why should you? It's all our first time doing this. So if you're feeling out of depth, that's completely normal. Lots of people change degrees, take time off, don't do a full study load. They might leave uni and come back years later. And uni is, I guess, such a time where you're learning so much about yourself as well as young adults, what you enjoy, what challenges you, what direction you might want to go in the future. And it's completely okay if your plans do change along the way. I remember when I met some of the older GAF scholars at my awards ceremony back in 2023, quite a few of them were sort of speaking about how they had changed degrees or weren't doing what they thought they originally were going to do. And at the time, I was pretty shocked. I was like, how could you change degrees? Like, that seems pretty crazy to me. But little did I know that a few years later, that would be me. I actually started off doing a neuroscience degree for my first 2 years at uni. But at the start of last year, I realised that it wasn't what I thought it was, and it wasn't really a career that I could see myself in. And so I changed into the double degree that I'm in now. And at the time, I was a bit scared and I thought that I might have failed a little bit, but it was the best decision that I've ever made. I'm enjoying uni so much more now. And I realized that I'm still so young and I have a whole career ahead of me, and an extra year or two at uni now is no big deal in the whole scheme of things. Another thing that I've learned is to make the most of being at uni. I'd really encourage you to get involved in opportunities around you. Uni is so much more than just attending lectures and completing assignments and exams. Some of the most valuable experiences come from things outside of the classroom. So getting involved in clubs, volunteering, leadership opportunities, or just different projects that might interest you. Embrace the uni lifestyle and make a big effort to build connections. It's really important to have a good group of peers around you to help you through your course. And as you've heard from Brad, your scholarship community is also a really great support network. Opportunities at uni come from people and relationships as much as they come from getting really good grades. So the connections that you might build with peers, mentors, the communities you're part of, lecturers, course coordinators, they can all have a really big impact on your journey. In my first year, I built a relationship with one of my tutors, which led to a summer work experience job, which was really cool. It gave me a really good insight into a career pathway that I might want to have down the track. Something else that's really important for high achieving students especially is to remember to take care of yourself. I know you probably hear it a lot, but it's a really important reminder. Many of us scholarship students are used to pushing ourselves really hard, taking on lots of responsibility, volunteering, putting our time in lots of different places. And while that drive is a really great strength, it can sometimes mean that we do forget to look after ourselves a little bit. Positive self-care isn't just about rest. It's also about recognizing when you're taking on a little bit too much, giving yourself permission to not be perfect at everything, and making sure that you have a nice balanced lifestyle. So thinking about things like exercise, still spending time with friends, giving yourself some breaks from study is really important too. Be organized, use a calendar, manage your expectations, remember that uni is very different to high school, and it's going to take a little bit of time to learn what a high distinction or a distinction might look like at uni compared to high school, how your university likes you to write. If you aren't getting, the grades that you thought you might be getting in the first semester, don't stress. It's completely okay. And just remember to do the basics right. I like to think about it in a bit of a pyramid. So if at the top of the pyramid, you've got getting good grades, getting really good opportunities, being really happy at university. At the bottom of the pyramid, you've got the foundations that you need to be able to achieve those things at the top. So making sure you're eating really well, making sure you're getting a good amount of sleep every night, and getting in a little bit of exercise every day can make a huge difference. And the final thing to remember is the importance of seeking help early. At uni, there are so many different resources available to you and programs that can help you if you are struggling a little bit. So your lecturers, tutors, peer mentors, counselling services are all there to support you. It's completely okay if you feel down. We all feel it at some point throughout our journey. But getting help early and being really proactive about it is really important, whether it's academic support. So maybe you might, want to drop back a subject for a semester, or helping with personal challenges, or just needing a bit of guidance or someone that to listen to you can make such a huge difference. It's not a weakness. It's actually a really important skill that if you can learn now will help you for the rest of your life. In my first few weeks at uni, I made an appointment to see my course coordinator because I was pretty stressed about how I was going to balance my training and work and study. And my course coordinator was amazing. She did me a study plan and she really reassured me. I could go see her whenever I wanted to, which was really beneficial. Remember that uni is there to help you. They're not there to trick you or to make your life harder. They all have counsellors, doctors, allied health clinics that you can access. So I'd really encourage you to look at that now while you are in your first few months so that for the rest of your degree, you know what's available to you. Looking back, one thing that I wish I'd known when I started uni is that you're not supposed to have everything planned out. Your interests will change, your experiences will shape you, and the path that you thought you might take might not be where you end up, and that's completely okay. Just remember, I know we've said it a number of times, but you were selected for this scholarship for a reason. Those who selected you saw potential in you, not just academically, but in the contribution that you make to your communities and who you are as a person. So please be proud of yourselves for getting to this point, and believe in yourself and your abilities to be just as successful in the next phase of your life. So congratulations, and I'm really excited to see where you all go on to achieve.
Thank you so much, Sarah. That was awesome. Lots of very important advice for people to take on board. We wish you the absolute best with your studies.